Hi, Bill.
Hi, Lance. Oh boy.
It's time for our next vidcast.
You realize that I don't see you face to face most of the year. I've seen you more face to face because of the crisis than I would normally. Is that good or bad? Uh,
It's definitely different.
okay, fair enough. Okay.
No, and that's been the story of my life for the last month. I've had a lot of virtual meetings, a lot more than I've had regular meetings.
And the weird thing is there are people we're meeting that we wouldn't normally meet. Again, for better or worse.
Uh, that's true.
Hmm.
Seems a
Yeah.
little too easy to have these meetings,
Okay. And
but
okay, so
never a bad thing for us to chat, Bill.
indeed. Okay. And in fact, our last vidcast has 5 likes, no dislikes. Oh, that's a win. Hey, I'll take that. Hey.
Yeah, five big ones.
Okay, so I'll give you some examples of people I talked to that don't know I talked to. First off, various people in my life from years ago have emailed me, "How are you doing? How are things happening?" That's kind of nice. Cryptography this semester is being taught by somebody, not by me, by a guy named Gurjan Al. I can't pronounce his name. Anyway, I was meeting with him very, very occasionally to sort of discuss the course. I'm sort of helping out a little bit. We're now chatting once a week, more for the human contact than anything else. So there's that. Um, and I've learned how to play the game Dominion online, and I do that probably more than I should. So that's, again, whether it's good or bad, I don't know. Here's the question, so Lance, once this is over, whenever that might be, what do you think is going to change?
So that's our topic for our vidcast. It's what's going to happen in the future. So what I'm seeing is an acceleration of a lot of things that were already changing. So working from home, people are already starting to work from home a little bit more, but now, of course, we've seen that accelerate. Um, Telemedicine, I had a doctor's appointment this morning with my doctor over video. I mean, she couldn't actually, look at any parts of my body, but we had a good conversation. Um, of course, ordering food out, getting our entertainment delivered into the home instead of going to the theater. I mean, all these things we're starting to see more and more of. So this move towards digital and digitalization of everything, which in some sense was already happening, is now has been massively accelerated, and we're not going to completely go back.
Well, let's see now. Yes and no. Once restaurants begin opening up, will there be a massive yearning to go sit down in a restaurant? And also for movies, it's more convenient getting movies online, watching TV online, etc. But once theaters are opening up, will people think two things? Either they'll think, "Gee, it was so much cheaper at home. I can go to the bathroom. I can stop when I wanted to. Why go to the theater?" Or we'll say, "Oh God, I miss being in the theater." Which way is it going to go? I want to know now from you. And you have to be right.
A couple of things. First of all, it's not going to complete. It's not like there's a switch that's going to be flipped, and everyone's going to be able to go to restaurants and movie theaters right away because there'll probably be some social distancing. And second of all, you're right. There'll be this, immediate counter reaction. Oh wow, I got to get to the theater. I got to get to the restaurant. But that's just going to be temporary. And then people are going to realize, wait a second, I kind of liked it, eating at home, or not having to have the hassle to get to a restaurant, or have the hassle to go to a movie theater and pay 3-4 times as much as you might want to watch at home. So I think we're going to see it kind of. Some of these. I mean, they won't disappear. Movie theaters won't disappear. Restaurants won't disappear. Some of them will, um, but uh, but I don't think it's going to go back to even what it used to be.
So you think that there'll be less people going to theater, movies, and less people going to restaurants when it comes back?
Right, unless people go into the office to work.
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be companies that'll say, "Why are we paying for all this expensive real estate if our people can work just fine out of home?"
Actually, in fact, Lance, you're a dean. Let me ask you as a dean. Gee, I currently have an office in a building on campus. Will they take my office away? And should they?
Well, I'm moving offices, so it's it's a little bit confusing that way. Uh, no, I mean I'll still have an office. I mean, once we get back, we'll go back to in-person meetings. Um, but it's a good question. At universities, is it really necessary for every person to have their own office?
So shared offices then.
Or should we have some sort of shared system? Should we have some sort of reservation system, the days you come into campus.
Yeah, no,
Office. You don't. I mean, people don't have their own books these days, especially the young professors.
yeah, the young faculty have no books. It's weird.
I mean, they generally don't even have. A lot of them don't even have desktop computers, so they can just bring in their laptop, and they can just plug in wherever.
It's not just academia, also business world. I wonder, cubicles never made sense to me because work at home. Now, there's one problem working at home, though. I think it's the trouble with work. My wife used to work she's retired now, and they would not let her telecommute, and that made no sense for her job. She was a software engineer, but there's this vague notion of we want to make sure you're actually getting things done. Of course, you could play Dominion, play tic-tac-toe on the web anyway, even at on-site. I think that there's still this notion of people want to be at home, there's a notion of bosses want people under their thumb, actually at their place of business. That's a problem. Also, more positively, Yahoo a while back did less telecommuting because the notion was that people are together, they can have brilliant ideas over coffee. Brilliant ideas, serendipity. So will working at home cut down on serendipity?
Yes. I mean, there'll be these random meetings that won't happen because we're working at home. On the other hand, you never know. There's also, being able to work and communicate with anyone anywhere might open up new connections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
in fact, I'm starting to. I mean, so let's talk a little bit about just focus on universities instead of trying to do everything at once.
We know
how a university is going to change. I mean, it's already been the case recently where I've seen more and more people who are trying to decide on faculty jobs take things like geography into consideration more than, okay, I need to go to a school with a strong department and strong colleagues. I feel that it's still that need is sort of still there, but not as much as it used to be. I mean, you don't need a great library because everything's digital. You don't need you can work, when we're doing this online, you can work with your colleagues across the country as easily as the ones in your department. So the question then becomes, why should I go to a university, say that's not near my family, that's maybe not in an interesting city?
Okay, yeah.
It's in a place where the weather's not so good, or or maybe I want something near skiing or whatever my hobby is. So you begin to see that maybe maybe being a professor doesn't necessarily have you so closely tied to the university. It's really more about who you work with.
That was already happening. We think the virus might actually accelerate that trend.
I think the virus is going to accelerate that fact.
Like actually,
to be honest, I mean, does it? I mean, right now, does it matter at all that you're 10 miles from campus as opposed to 1,000 miles from campus?
Right now, it doesn't matter, of course. And like Lance, the weird thing is, you would occasionally come to DC for NSF business, and then you say, "Oh, Bill, while I'm here, let's have dinner together." But here we are talking anyway. So we need not think of you being in town as a special occasion. And we need to think of you being in Chicago as being, oh, I can't talk to him. Here you are. In fact, I could even, yesterday, we actually had a table. We literally ate dinner with somebody over Zoom.
Yeah, we had our virtual Passover Seders very recently. It's that's a whole different world. But you're right. It's it's something. On the other hand, I wouldn't go out of my way to say I got to talk to Bill, but whenever I go to DC, for whatever reason, I always check to see if you're available.
Yeah.
Although I do remember you kind of blew me off my last trip.
My arm is on a cast, for goodness sakes.
Excuses.
Okay. Anyway, actually, let me ask at least like personal and see if you take on other people as well. As you know, especially working with the blog as you do, I am somewhat of a Luddite. I don't really try the latest thing on the block, as you know.
Yes.
However, my point is, because of this, I've been forced to learn Zoom and Skype and Google Hangout and playing Dominion Online and like that. But not just me. I'm wondering, are other people having to man up finally and actually learn these sort of things? Is there going to be an increase in people being more tech savvy than they were?
I think when it certainly comes to things like video conferencing, yeah, I think a lot of people are reluctant and forced into it.
Mhm.
And now might be feel very comfortable about it, very comfortable about quickly connecting with someone on a video chat. So yeah, sure. Sure. I mean, this kind of happened with email. There were a bunch of people who kind of refused to do it.
Yeah.
And I guess non-Canoe still does.
Yep.
Um, but eventually, it's the technological cycle. Eventually, when you at some point it becomes that it hurts you not to use it, and then eventually, almost there's always a few people who will never do it. But
Actually, that reminds me, back in 1985, my department had a vote on um, must all faculty read emails along the lines of we're no longer going to leave notes in mailboxes when meetings are happening. It's weird. I mean, it's weird even imagine that nowadays, but we had to require all faculty to read emails, not miss things. That we wouldn't need a requirement now for that.
that's true. It's really interesting to see what would have happened if this virus happened in a different time.
Oh, if it happened
How
20
would we do virtual conferences if we're still doing transparencies? Before to
no,
cancel the meetings.
20 years ago, I think it would have been 20 years ago, maybe we weren't really up to snuff on these things. It would have been a lot worse for us. We couldn't do these chats and the stuff like this. 20 years
Is
ago.
that a plus or a minus? Plus or minus, we might get a lot more work done if we couldn't have all these
That's the
videos.
point too, actually. There was a headline in the Onion, which seems kind of real. Isn't it down for a day? Productivity soars.
Yeah,
There is
right.
something to that. Although I don't really put too much stock in that because even when I'm working on math away from the machine, I will say things like, "Oh, I've got to look X up, and there it is. I can do it so easily."
That's
So that's
true.
very nice.
Paper is easy to find.
Yeah. So more people are tech savvy than they used to be. That's a good thing. More people are getting used to this, not face to face. What? Let me tell you, a group of people I feel, aside from the obvious, like manual laborers, people out of the job, the homeless. These are all terrible. I mean, things are happening that are terrible to them. But aside from that, let me give you a what do you call it? A first world problem. What if you had begun dating just like a month ago? I mean, now you're sort of with your maybe girlfriend, maybe not girlfriend online. It'd be weird. So I think it's been I think dating services have taken a big hit on this, and I kind of wonder what's going to happen with that because you can't really date anymore, or you can date like on virtually. That's weird.
Yeah, thank God I'm not in that part of my life right
Oh yeah,
now.
I'm
But
glad.
no, I mean I mean I've heard different stories. People just communicate by video chat. Sometimes they end up moving in together anyway.
Mhm, mhm.
Or they meet up. I mean it's even though they probably shouldn't. People will do what people will do.
Have you been very good at staying home?
We've been really good. I mean, occasionally we've gone out to pick up groceries.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but no, most days I don't even get out of the building.
Oh, by the way, Maryland has a mandatory mask law now. You must put on a face mask if you're going to the grocery store. Do you have that yet or not?
Yeah, we started that in Illinois. I have a mask.
Okay, so the weird.
One of our Chinese, my associate dean is he's Chinese. He got a whole bunch of masks sent to him from China. He dropped off a few for me.
Nice. Okay, good. There's one thing weird is that wearing a mask to the PO box at the grocery store is no longer weird. I mean, everyone's doing it. Okay. Okay. So let's see. So people get more high tech people. More people get more high tech. People will come into our work less. Oh, I don't think there were days in the past when the only thing I was going in for was a PhD defense. No longer. I'll stay home and look. I'll stay home and go to defense. It'll now be just so easy.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to a defense in Atlanta in the middle of March.
Hmm.
Ended up canceling the trip, and then in fact, everyone at his defense, even the people at Georgia Tech,
Hmm.
all did it virtually.
Also, faculty meetings are weird because it used to be you'd say things like, I can't be at the meeting, I'll be at a conference, or I'm staying home that day, or I'm sick. So I don't know if it's good or bad, you can't make those excuses anymore. On the other hand,
Yeah,
you turn off your
but
mic, turn off picture, and do other stuff. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it
you're
could be.
there virtually, you might not be there in any other way.
That is true.
Okay.
I don't find that meetings of more than 4 or 5 people really work.
Yeah.
These video meetings. And actually, generally they don't work. Period. In person either.
Actually, it's
But
one
yeah, the meetings better to keep the meetings small.
Okay, there's one separation. There's something happening that I think is interesting. Is that, for example, let's take my church. My church is now meeting virtually. It has been for a while now. But going to church, even going to a faculty meeting, going to faculty lunch, it's part social and part something that has to get done. We're cutting out the social part of it. So you're kind of wondering, we're separating out those two functions. And that's kind of weird because we sort of think of, in our case, we go to church, we go to a service, then we go downstairs and have cookies and whatever with people and meet people, whatever. But now if it's only the go to church part, really is missing something. And it's better than nothing. But it's weird that some of the things we do normally, we're getting to realize have a part social and part content component to it, you might say. And we're gonna have a virtual faculty lunch next Friday. That really just means the chairman tells us stuff, which is fine. It's fine to do, but it's not really gonna be a lunch. And that's something. I am used to getting free lunches. Darn.
Sorry about your free lunches. I mean, we got, I posted today about virtual conferences.
You're not a fan.
It's going to be really hard to replicate the social aspects of those meetings. I think the talks will be fine, but replicating the social aspects of those meetings is going to be next to impossible.
And I think someone else had posted a while back about how young faculty can no longer sort of talk, as an example, I went to a conference in Florida in combinatorics about 20 years ago, and I had lunch with John Conway, who has, recently died of the virus. I mean, My God, that can't happen anymore. Or that can't happen now, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's unlikely. I mean, maybe you can try to rig up some sort of video meetings like that.
Yeah, but it was serendipitous. I mean, it's not as though he didn't say I want to have lunch with Bill and Clyde. It just sort of happened that way at a random table. I'm just saying it'll be hard to replicate that. Although you could have a randomization program. In fact, at Dogstool they literally have a random seating, but I'm always next to Valentine Cabinet for some reason. Always. So.
Yeah. Well. In fact, the random seating Dogstool-like thing is actually mentioned in this ACM virtual conference guide I linked to. So that might be some sort of approach. I mean, we had at the last two Theory Fests, we had senior faculty take out grad students or young faculty out for lunch. I mean, so we could still do that kind of thing if they're going to try to do that sort of thing at Theory Fest. Which was supposed to be in Chicago, but I guess not.
Oh, well.
It's going to be, the next months to years are going to be interesting, and how we come out of this. To me, it's hard to predict. I think we'll see a lot more of people be a lot more used to doing what we're doing now.
Okay.
And
again, we'll just have to see. People might be less connected. We may be gaining in efficiency, but losing some kind of connectivity, but getting it back virtually, it's going to be hard. It's going to be weird. And people being born, people are like 5-6 years old now. It's going to affect them. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. So.
Okay, so it's probably about time. I don't want to keep these too long, or people will stop watching. So let's kind of close it out.
We have. Go ahead, close it out.
Okay. So, in a complex world, best to keep it simple and best to keep it safe. Goodbye, Bill.
Bye-bye. Okay.